Hello, beautiful friends. Happy today. Happy Sunday, August 11th. What a busy day up in the sky today, and we're going to talk about it. This is going to be a little bit longer live stream, so let's nestle in here. We have got a big, brilliant, beautiful day happening in the sky. There are so many changes and connections happening, and I'm going to take you a little forward and backwards today. We're going to go on a little bit of a trip talking through this astrology. Now, some of this is going to, because we're dealing with outer planets as well, is going to point to the political and economic arenas. And I want to be clear at the beginning of this video, this is not a political post. This is not about political opinions. I don't care what side you're on. You don't need to know what side I'm on. We're going to talk about the astrology and how this stuff is moving. And also, because we've got energies going retrograde, I'm going to talk about it for each of the different energies. And how you can work with them, okay? So first and foremost, let's just talk very quickly about what's happening in the sky, and then I'll move into breaking all of these things down. And if you've got stuff going on in your area, put it in the comment section or the chat section here down below so that we can consider it as we're going, okay? So I have lots. So I've made lots and lots of notes all over here, you guys. So if you see me picking up pieces of paper, that's what's happening. Okay, so first and foremost, what is happening up in the sky today? So we've got Mercury, who we are still in Mercury's shadow time from the retrograde. It actually ends August 15th. So we're not quite there, but we are moving towards that. But Mercury did retrograde time between the energies of Leo and Cancer. And now, as it is direct, it's moving today back into the energy of Leo. So we're still moving forward, right? He's moving along. But we may still feel a little bit of that, like, Mercury retrograde on us a little bit, and that's just the shadow time speaking to us. But Mercury does move back into the energy of Leo today, and Leo is a fixed, which means not really excited about moving, fire sign. So there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of generosity here, there's a lot of expression happening with Mercury in Leo, right? We're going to want to express things, we're going to want to say things, we're going to make decisions, we're going to do things like this, and we're going to do this in the energetic balance of Leo. But I think that this energy also gives us an opportunity to look at where we're kind of stubborn. Leo's a fixed sign. It's kind of stubborn, right? So where are you being a little bit stubborn in your thinking and your decision making, and where can you kind of let go just a little bit? But either way, your Leo energies are going to be ready to do some forward motion here, even if it feels like things are still just a little bit veiled, okay? Big news on the agenda. Jupiter is direct today, you guys. Jupiter is direct today. We have spent 4 months with Jupiter retrograde, and let me tell you what, I really genuinely believe you've got to make friends with your retrogrades. Your retrogrades are here for a purpose. For a purpose. And the purpose, you guys, is not just to hang out and have retrograde energy. It's not to torture us. It's not any of that kind of stuff. The retrogrades take us backwards in the ways that we can't see. We need to move backwards in order to progress forward. Okay, so Jupiter has been retrograde since April. So we've had 4 months of Jupiter retrograde, which has taken us back inside, right? It's been like, okay, you need to relook at what you think about this. You need to relook at some ethical ideas, right? Because let's remember, Jupiter starts to move towards this outer area, which becomes very global as well. So ethics, culture, religion, beliefs, practices, international things, business. What is one of the things that we've been talking about very highly all over the world, but I live in the United States? Immigration, right? Like, these have been things that have been subject to Jupiter retrograde because we've had to go back globally and relook at these things. Now, on a personal level, we've had to go back and look at what we believe about things. We've had to go back and look at things that have to do with the law. We've had to go back and look at things that have to do with education, training, our own belief structures. I believe that Jupiter is a planet as well of faith, right? So maybe your faith or your faith practices or how you interact with faith and information has changed. You've been going back over these things. But see, this is the thing I love about what Jupiter does as well. When he is direct, he's bringing opportunities. He's bringing wisdom. We're doing these international things. We're whatever, right? We're putzing around and moving forward, right? Now, when he's retrograde, the opportunities, the wisdom, the conversations, they're all here, but they're kind of trickling in very, very slowly, sometimes so slowly that we can't even actually see it. So what happens is we have to start to make our own way. We have to sort of start to redefine some things. And here's an analogy that I want to give you to kind of give you a view maybe of what's been happening with this Jupiter energy for you guys, right? So when Jupiter is direct, you have all these ideas and you're ready to do them and you're like, yes, let me go conquer the world because I'm going to expand out, share my wisdom, share my whatever. But then Jupiter goes retrograde and you've had this idea, this vision of something that you've wanted for yourself, you've wanted for your life, maybe something that you've wanted to do, maybe something that you've wanted to teach or learn or whatever, right? And Jupiter is retrograde, but it's like the opportunity is there, but you can't quite get to it. Right? It's like, man, I really want to make body soap. We're going to use body soap. Okay. I really want this kind of body soap. I wish there was this kind of blah, 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 blah. Right? And you cannot get to it. You're trying to buy the best ingredients and all of this other stuff, but none of the stores are open. Nobody's actually selling the ingredients that you need. And of course, you know, maybe you're not a goat farmer, so maybe you don't have goats to just go get goat milk from. But wherever you're trying to go when Jupiter's retrograde to get your ingredients to do this magical vision thing that you've got, you just can't get to it, right? So what happens? Frustration. Retrogrades rightly bring us a level of frustration that we need to kind of kick in our own pants and do some things on our own. So what do you decide to do? You decide to buy some damn goats, right? You decide to buy some goats because you're like, no, wait a minute. Why am I waiting for any and everybody else to show me how to do this when I could buy my own goats, learn how to do that whole thing, because there will be learning involved when you get Jupiter involved, right? You're going to buy your goats. You learn how to take care of goats. Before you know it, you've got tons of goat milk and you're making your own soaps. You're doing the thing, right? So then what happens? Jupiter comes out of retrograde like it has today, right? And you're out in the world and everybody's like, oh, I've got the ingredients for your goat milk. I've got the ingredients for your soap. And you're like, oh, it's fine. I already did it myself. You have learned how to do this and how to take care of yourself. You've changed your beliefs. You've changed your education so that you could adapt your own vision and do it on your own without needing everybody else's resources to be able to do that, right? If things have happened in the past in your world, they have resurfaced during Jupiter retrograde, and you have had to put on your big girl, big boy panties and like go deal with it on your own, right? So that as Jupiter comes out of retrograde, you've got this space of freedom where you're like, oh, I'm navigating all this. I'm fine. I'm not still waiting for things to happen because I've already stepped into it. So as Jupiter is here now, out of retrograde, what is in forward motion for you? What did you learn how to do? What did you fix? What did you figure out? What did you stop waiting for someone else to show you how to do? And you've had to go back over and investigate and relearn and re-ethic those things. And now within a month of Jupiter being retrograde, my friends, within a month of Jupiter retrograde or being direct, you're going to start to see this progress of these programs, these opportunities, these ideas, this faith that maybe you worked on. Because let's be real, we are human beings. If your faith has been broken and you haven't been willing to just jump out there and say, F it, I think it's all going to work out, your faith has been broken, and that's fine. We get squarely confronted of issues of faith all the time. And if you've been working on it, now with Jupiter direct, I can't even wait to see you. I cannot wait to see what you do and what you create. Now, I will tell you, in my world, what has happened is I got to go back over all kinds of material I wanted to teach. I was thinking, oh man, before the retrograde, I was like, yeah, I'd like to do that. Yeah, I'd like to do that. Oh, maybe I don't know enough. Let me see. What do I think about that? What do I know about that? I've had to go back and reinvestigate in my chart what I know about some things, right? During Jupiter retrograde, I was trying to build all of these videos and programs and books for you guys, and not a single one of them was working out. So what happened? I had to figure out how to do those things, and the helpers showed up to show me how to do it. Now Jupiter's direct. You guys just wait. There's about to be a content explosion over here, right? As soon as I get out of my Leo shadow time right now. But but it's been that for me over here. So what is your example? What has happened for you? How have you changed over the last 4 months? Okay. Now, we've also got Uranus going retrograde today, and Uranus is going to be retrograde today at 6 degrees of Taurus. So if you are in this really 0 to 6 degree place in 2019 of Taurus energy, you're getting a lot of impact here. And Uranus is going to be retrograde until January 10th of 2020. So, you know, we've got some time with this, but I want to explain to you not only why Uranus retrograde is an absolute gangster, but how to use this, really make friends with the retrograde. Okay, when Uranus is direct, right? He's already got his own orb. Everybody else is like, do, 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 right, baby shark? And he's like, woof, woof, woof. So he is not doing the same kind of movement already. So he is going to have an unconventional nature already. So wherever you have your Uranus placements in your chart, you're going to be doing things in that area different than other people in your life, or maybe than what you were brought up to do. I have Uranus in my 4th house. I am a way different parent than my parents were, right? Like, not everything's been blown out of the water, but oh my goodness, I do things way differently, right? So look at your chart and see where you naturally have your Uranian energy. So Uranus is coming to bring excitement, to bring intuition. It's an absolutely brilliant energy, right? It smashes down the structures that we've got, because Saturn comes, builds these structures, these ideas that we've got. And Uranus is like, yeah, those were good for a time, but they don't actually work for you anymore. We need something new here. We need something intuitive. We need something brilliant that can take you forward, right? So that's what Uranus is doing, and it brings disruption. Now, really quickly, I do want to point this out. Because we've got Jupiter coming direct today, and we've got Uranus taking a retrograde, and we've got Mercury movement happening today as well, you could potentially see issues in things that have to do with communication, electricity, and technology. It could be a weird couple technological days, you guys. I mean, these are all bodies between Uranus, Mercury, Jupiter. These are all bodies that have to do with communication. They all are very electrically energetic. Don't be surprised if your car gets weird. Wherever there are places of electricity, technology, any of that kind of stuff, it could just be a weird couple days. So it will pass, okay? It will pass. Don't freak too much out. But whenever things are stationing or moving, this can be a little bit more intense energy on our gadgets and things like that. So if that happens for you, no worries, okay? Now, with Uranus going into this retrograde, what it's going to do is send us back inside. Retrograde means to the past or inward, right? So what has happened during Uranus direct, you guys? This is where this becomes useful. What has happened during Uranus direct, especially through that Aries energy, honey, oh my goodness. Your external world, whether that be people, places, things, circumstances, situations, whatever it is, your external world has moved on. You've got new things in your world. It's in Taurus. This is a material or situational, maybe even romantic difference, financial difference in your external world. It has changed in some way. And if you think, no, I've got the same old show and dance going on, Stormie, step back and like hover over your life like you are just in a helicopter. You're just looking at your life, because I think if you take a very honest, conscious look at your external situation, in some way it is different, right? Now, that's all well and good. Yay for change, right? But what has happened is that maybe your insides have not caught up with your outsides quite yet, right? Okay, right? I'm totally married. Who knew? Okay, so I'm like, oh, I'm a married person. What do I do with that? Right? So what happens when Uranus goes retrograde is he's coming in here and he's like, boom, 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 boom. He's taking down these structures, these beliefs, these blockages that you've had, this place where there is organic wisdom available to you and you just have not been able to access it. Uranus is going to come in and move all of that BS out of the way because he's coming in and tearing down what you cannot use anymore to meet the conditions of your external circumstances. And now this is not always positive and it is not always negative, right? And sometimes the blessings can feel just as heavy as the things that feel like there are challenges, right? So let's say in your external circumstances, you've started to make more money than you've ever made before in your life. But internally, you're like, I don't know how to accept this. I don't know what to do with this. This is actually a really great omen that by the time we arrive at January 2020, you're going to have some of that ish out of the way. There will be internal innovation for you so that you can see how to meet that. It is a place of spiritual wisdom. It is gorgeous, 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 you guys. Okay, now another thing I just want to point out to you, because Uranus is going retrograde in Taurus, whichever, you're going to have to grab your chart and look at where this energy is actually happening house-wise, whether it be in your natal chart, your progress chart, whichever chart you're looking at. You need to look at it so that you can actually see where it's happening for you. But also just generally in the energy of Taurus, this could bring a focus to your relationships, your self-esteem, things of value in your life, and your money, right? Maybe you've got to go back over that. I am a Taurus, right? I am a Taurus. Man, I am in this lifetime working on issues of self-esteem, value, my own value, right? As Uranus is here, I know I've got some tear down coming to the value I think I have to bring to the external community, to publishing, to broadcasting, to give you guys the wisdom that I organically have. But I've got to get out of the way first in order to be able to do that. So I know that's some work Stormie Grace has got coming. So what work do you have coming? Now, at a global level, I want to point this out because we are seeing these things happen left and right. And it's going to get a little political for a minute, but follow me with the astrology, not with your political opinion here, okay? So Uranus is an outer planet. So we have a global energy happening with this. And if you've watched my Uranus and Taurus video, you know that some of the global issues that Uranus disrupts because we need innovation here, or we need to relook at this, are going to be things that have to do with real estate, that are going to be things that have to do with agriculture, have to do with our food services, have anything to do with material things. Banking is going to be wrapped up in here as well. Things that have to do with culture, right? All of these things have got a nice crispy disruption beginning to happen for them, and it will continue on until 2026 until we get it worked out, right? But Uranus being that external energy, we can look at events that have recently transpired just here recently in the news. Okay, so what we had happen just a few days ago in the United States here, right? And I'm going to pull in the astrology so you can see every angle that I'm looking at, right? What we had happen was we had an arrest or a detainment of 680 undocumented people in the United States, right? Okay, now where did they do this at? They went to get these people at a chicken plant, several different chicken plants across Mississippi, right? This is a big deal. This is a big deal. So let's talk about the astrology. So without pulling up a chart, because I can't on the live, I haven't figured that out yet. But so the official plan for 2019 to go detain people, that official finality of the plan began and started as we came into a Mercury shadow, right? When it was like, we're really solid, here's the date and time that we're going to go do this. It was months in advance of the actual event. That was happening during actually a Mercury retrograde in Cancer. Cancer is not only the sign of the United States, right? That's the sign that United States is because of the birthday, but it is also an energy that has to do with home, homeland, families, all of these root level energies. So here we go. We've got the plan that we're going to go detain people during a Mercury retrograde. We've re-looked over the homeland people situation, right? Now, where did we go to detain these people? We went to chicken plants, Uranus and Taurus. We've got a food service interruption, right? You know, Taurus, we're going to be where the food's at, okay? So we've got Uranus and Taurus over here. Now we've got the decision, we've got the disruption that has happened here, right? At this time, Jupiter was still in retrograde. We are re-looking at our laws, our politics, our ethics, things that have to do with culture, international beliefs, right? We are going back over them. And in the United States, we have laws, rules that govern what we do in these situations, but we haven't been applying them for a very long time, right? So when we have Jupiter retrograde, we're gonna go back over and look if we're in alignment with them. Do those fit for us at this time, right? So we've got that beautiful piece happening over here that is going bing, bing, bing. We've got 3 different pieces of astrology. Now here's the other piece we need to bring in, right? We've also got Saturn and Pluto over in Capricorn. These are the energies of our government, our structure, how we hold people responsible, all of these kinds of energy. So we have this detainment happen, right? And funny enough, we're detaining people, and where's Mars? Where's Mars? Is Mars in Leo at the time? You bet your potatoes that it is, right? Right? We're out there. And not only that, not only was Mars finishing its transit through Leo, it was moving into Virgo, where we're going to get organized, right? We're going to get organized. So here in the United States, this was a move to get organized, right? Okay, so we've got that happening. Now we've got to consider this Saturn-Pluto energy that we've got happening over here. This is corporations, structures, government, all of that other kind of good stuff. So we do the detaining at the chicken plants, right? But then what we find out is that not only are we going to figure out what we're doing with the people we've detained, but in the companies, the structure, the organizations, we are now going to hold them accountable for hiring undocumented people. So now we have pushed the responsibility in organization. Also, the authorities are looking at how are we going to hold our government and our structures and our business owners responsible for not following the policies, bylaws, rules, whatever you want to call them, that we've also got going. So you see what I mean? We've got a whole structure of the astrology that if you've listened to anything about Uranus and Taurus, if you've listened to anything about Saturn and Capricorn, you have heard and you've seen that we are on the move to making some big global changes here. We are going to restructure these things differently. But how amazing is that to even be able to see the astrology in what was happening on that day? And it is big level stuff. That's global. That is huge, global, assertive level stuff. So keep following this. I'll keep following. I'll keep tracking. Pretty soon I'm going to start to talk to you guys about 2020 because it's time, right? As soon as my Leo shadow time is over, I'll be creeping out here with content explosion. Now, on a personal level, with this Uranus transit going retrograde, it's going to create a space in each of our different energies. I think the best way for you to follow this and to look at this is to look at your houses, because that's really the only way to do it. I don't know that I think that it is entirely effective for you to just look at your sign, right? Like, you really want to track this through the houses to be very, very specific. But I can also tell you that as a person who loves sun sign astrology as well, I do feel some of the impact, a fair amount of the impact in just the sun energy as well. So if you want to be absolutely specific, grab your chart. If you don't have a chart, come get one from me, pull a free one from AstroChart, Cafe Astrology, whatever it is that you need to do, right? So that you can see where these energies are happening. Now, I want to talk about that for each of the different energies, but before I do that really quickly, I do want to talk about what happens if we're doing this Uranus retrograde. What happens if you have a natal Uranus that's retrograde? If this is your natural kind of placement, this may not be the most intense energy for you. You still get to use it. You still get to have some break free of your own malarkey kind of energy. But what happens? What is your default kind of energy? First of all, this may mean that your impulsiveness, your being reactive or overreactive to things, or even being so entirely like chilled out, really aloof is the energy that goes with Uranus. You could have this on 100, right? Because what happens is it internalizes all of this, but with that much electric energy running through an internal source that is the human being, it's going to lead to some kind of external explosion as well. What it could also do is make you more anxious. You may notice that your nervous system, you have spasms, or you have behavior where you kind of feel like maybe there's more than one person living in here, right? You could definitely feel like that because it's a high amount of electricity just running for you. It could be an energy where the times that you feel the most comfortable is with people or in environments that are as equally erratic as you feel in that particular area. This is an energy when you have Uranus retrograde, depending on the sign that you're in, where you may feel a little bit separate. You feel like you don't quite fit into the group, or you feel a little bit cut off, or you feel like maybe you're just really, really different. Or maybe this could be an energy for you as well, that you are very much so in contact with your past lives and you know it. And then you're around all these normal people who are like, oh, I wonder why this is happening to me. And you're like, it's because you're North Node in the last life. You know, like you could just feel that way. And you could also have the energy where you do just feel separate from your life or from the people in your community in some way, shape, or form. So now, you know, that said, it's not an entirely terrible placement. And I don't think any of those things are really that bad. It's just the nature of your makeup. It brings its own challenges, but it also brings its own joys that come to the table as well. You are the person who's doing it different. You are the person who's a little bit more abrupt. And sometimes we can't just be sitting around all patting each other on the butterfly butt, being like, it's going to be fine. Sometimes we need a Uranus a retrograde person to come in and be like, no, this is horse poop. We need to move on, right? Let's move forward. Uranus and retrograde people teach us a lot about the nervous system as well. So that could definitely be an energy that you are working with. Okay, Uranus retrograde for each sign, for each energy. And I'm really going to do this more according to the houses because I think it's a little bit more accessible for you. Because when you grab your chart, you're going to find it by the house, maybe not necessarily by the sign. Okay, Uranus retrograde in the first house. This is issues of identity. This may be issues of your body. This may be focus on things that have to do with your external environment, especially let's just say that this Uranus retrograde is for some reason going to come in contact with your ascending energy. This is going to really be, you know, your external environment has changed. How people see you, how people know you has changed, and you haven't quite caught up to that yet. You know what I mean? Or something in that. Maybe even your body has changed. And if you are Uranus in Taurus, if you are a Taurus person, you have Uranus in Taurus, or you are a Taurus person, I will tell you that it doesn't really matter where this placement is at for you. If your sun is in Taurus, you have likely encountered some issues of the body or issues of health or something like that, and you're now having to kind of adjust and walk through those things. But this is also the case if this is your first house. So your external world has changed. Uranus is going to go retrograde, tear down your ish, right? And what's going to happen is that you are going to start to make some peace. It's like Uranus comes in and just drives this big old wedge between you and your BS and is like, cut it off. This won't work for us anymore. We can't survive with this. You've got to innovate. Come with me. I'm intelligent. I'm intuitive. I am bringing you to the future of your body, of your external environment. So look for changes like that to be happening and embrace it. Embrace the retrograde. And yes, awakening. I don't care what house you have this happening in. Awakening is painful. It is painful because it means we have to shatter the delusions that our ego has provided to us about what we are and what we are not. But once you are awake, you are innovative. The world is full and you get to move forward full steam. So yes, sometimes during a retrograde, and particularly a Uranus retrograde, awakening is painful. Walk with your tribe, and if you don't have one, God darn it, get one. You cannot walk alone. Okay, I'm moving on. I'm off the soapbox. Okay, Uranus in the second house. Yes, you may be experiencing some changes in your flat out finances. Your money may be really different in your external life. Or here's the other thing I think happens in the second house. Your money just hasn't had the opportunity to really get different. It's like it gets these little bumps in the road where something's different and then very quickly it's gone, right? So with with Uranus retrograde, you get to go back in and say, how am I in the way of my money? How am I in the way of using a skill or a talent that I have that I've been just too afraid to put out there and share with people, right? In your self-esteem and your beliefs and your value, especially in your relationships and especially around your money, where are you holding you back? Uranus is going to innovate you at a high level because, see, Uranus doesn't do low-level innovation. When he comes in to tear down Saturn's structure, Saturn is no joke. Saturn sets up some structures that are going to be there for a very long time to support you. So Uranus is coming in with a big old hammer. He's got to be big enough to take down those Saturn set beliefs that you've got happening in there, right? Now, this could also have to do, the second house is a material house, right? So you could have some materials that you're like, why do I have this? Why is this in my life? If you have the second house, we like to possess things. We like to keep things. Taurus energy is not huge about letting things go. You may have to look at your physical things in your house, in your world, in your life, and get rid of them. Do you have clothes that you are never going to fit in again? Or are you telling yourself, nope, you know what? I just need to lose this 5 pounds. I'm going to get back in here. Please let it go. Let it go and move on. Let it go and move on, right? Is your car dirty? Is the inside of your car dirty, right? Is that helping you? What is that supporting, right? What is that? What spiritual debris are you holding onto when your car is dirty, right? These may be low-level things that come in there and bring your attention to very big things that are standing in the way of that blockage of you moving forward. Uranus in the third house. We have electricity meets some kind of mercurial energy. So this is a lot of rethinking. So maybe what's happened for you in your external world is you've done that website. You're writing that book. You're communicating. You're teaching. You're studying something. You've got things going on with your siblings. Maybe you're in real estate. You want to sell a house. You want to sell a something, right? Maybe you have something to do with cars. Maybe being a mechanic, all those little moving parts. Whatever it is, the external environment around these things, and of course your own thinking, your own how you absorb and transmit information is different, right? So now as Uranus is a retrograde, maybe you've even had some ideas that you haven't been quite willing to put down on paper. Maybe you have been stuck in this idea that, oh man, my family was one religion or one faith or one whatever, I really can't say the thing. Or maybe you've got the situation going on where it's like, I have been really jealous of this sibling, right? I've really had this thought about this sibling, about this neighbor, right? And Uranus comes and clears the deck, clears the space, and shows you why that doesn't fit anymore. There's actually some intuition here. Maybe you've written the book and you haven't had the courage to put it out there. Well, you did all the writing already. Uranus is going to move you out of the way and innovate and say, no, we've got to share that. Future generations need to hear our voice on that particular thing, and then you're able to transmit that thing out. And I will tell you too, with Uranus in any of these houses, if you have a technological attachment to anything in any one of these houses and you're not using it, if that laptop needs to die, if you need to learn how to use that software, Uranus will help you do that as well. Okay, that's going to be really, really useful to you. All right, Uranus in the fourth house. So maybe your family situation has changed or is changing in some way, shape, or form. People moving in, people moving out. You are moving. Your internal psychological foundations are changing. Maybe your connections to things from the past are just very, very different. The women in your life, maybe your care for women, family members, something like that has changed pretty significantly in the external world. Now, as Uranus retrogrades here, you are first of all going to get one of the most brilliant breaks, I think. You get to break free from some old ideas, some old actions, some old beliefs, some old ideas of separation of yourself from the past. You get to be free of those, right? You will not have to have those connections, those ties anymore to keep you down. And it's about the belief structure around those things. With Uranus retrograde, some of you could be going back home or could be going back to a family member. A family member could be moving in with you. A woman could be moving in with you in some way, shape, or form. I do think because it's Uranian energy, it could be a man just as equally in this house, and you're beginning to care for them or you're going back over something with them to bring this to the next level. There's certainly a psychological shift that's going to be happening here for sure. And for many, many of us, in that fourth house space, I do think something that will change is you adapt to whatever your new home life cycle is as well. And you also could be coming up with technological ways to work from home. Maybe you're going to start making videos. Maybe you're going to do courses. Maybe you're going to have people over twice a month in your basement and teach whatever, right? Whatever that is. Oh, I'm just getting this vision too. Somebody out there is going to be doing something with child care or it's care of some way. You're caring for a population that can't actually care for themselves. This will be your innovation. You will actually, maybe you've had the idea for a while, but the innovation will come in by January. So whoever that's for you. Now, we have Uranus in the fifth house. Expression. Some of y'all I know have had babies, right? So maybe you have children, or maybe you have children that are changing phase in their life. Maybe they are moving on to college. They're just, maybe you've got drivers in your house. So the child aspect, maybe you've been trying to have children. You've really been trying to have children. Uranus retrograde could be your saving grace, my beautiful friend. It very well could. It could move whatever's been in the way out of the way. Now, if that means you've been trying to have children by adoption, foster, the old natural way, things could move out of the way, and you could find on the other side of a Uranus retrograde, you are pregnant, you have a child, you are further along in the process of being able to have that be real in your life. So whatever's been in the way of the blockage of something with children, you could find that this is moving forward as well. Now, I will tell you one thing that I've had experience with is, as the children are moving forward in the external world, mom's having to go, okay, wait, how do I parent this child now, right? Because I don't have a baby anymore. What about this child? Right? So it could be things like that as well. Now, other things, if you have started a business, right? Let's say you've started a business, or you want to start a business, or you've had the idea or something like that, and it's gone. Maybe you've launched the business, or you're thinking about starting it in some way, shape, or form, and there are just some elements that are missing that are not taking you forward far enough, right? So now you get the opportunity for some innovation back here during the Uranian retrograde to be able to help you see what's in the way, what you need to learn, what you need to understand, maybe where you need to involve a grouping or an organization of people so that you can. And I will tell you too, Uranus as a planet in general, you guys, in any house that you've got it happening in, Uranus is thinking about your future. So you could become more future minded in this house as well. So if this is happening in the fifth house for you, this could also be romance. This could be romance. Now, I think that when Uranus rolls in, it is not always terrible for romance, but in the fifth house, it can be a little bit more tricky. So I do want you to pay attention here. Take it nice and slow. Be innovative about what you're seeing. And if you, in your romance, if you have been on the romance train and you're like, stop the world, let me off. You know what I mean? And you get the opportunity here too to look at what's happening. How are you showing up in love relationships? Where do you as a human need to innovate? Are you jumping into sex too quick? Are you having too many relationships back to back? Are you not having enough? Are you not participating? Do you have no joy in this space? Where do you need to innovate to bring that future along as well? All right, Uranus in the sixth house. First of all, Uranus in the sixth house in general can bring health challenges. So whether you have that natally or just the transiting will bring around, and it can just be health scares, things that need your attention. So this can very much so be in the body as well. It's an earth energy, so of the body, right? So you could have health scares going on. And if you've had a health scare, whether that be your mental health, the things that are happening for you up here, whether it's been other things happening in the physical body, whether it's been your practitioners, your daily routine, what you do from the time that you get up to the time that you go to bed, this has a health aspect to it as well, because if you are making yourself crazy, you are running yourself ragged, you are not hydrating, you are not sleeping, you're not fueling in between the marathon that we call life, this will have health implications as well. And Uranus in your sixth house has probably made them abundantly clear to you, right? But Uranus retrograde is going to show you new ways to handle those things. And it may bring groupings, informations. Maybe you get a new gym. Maybe you decide you don't even like the gym and you want to be a roller skater for health. I mean, whatever it is, Uranus is going to help you innovate this particular area. Now, when it comes to things of work, especially freelance work, or if you own your own business, Uranus could definitely bring you You know, you've got this business, you've got these employees, you've got whatever going on over here, or you haven't had a job in like 100 years, right? Uranus retrograde can bring you something from the past or bring you information from the past that makes you go, oh, wait a minute. This is a skill and a talent that I have. I can take it forward. Or, oh, I can go back to that old company. I have a connection there. And maybe you don't have to work for the company, but the connection can hook you up with your next employer or your next whatever going forward, right? So this could definitely be some energies coming back from the past that you get to innovate in order to have them go forward. Now, I do want to say Uranus retrograde, if you do own a business, if you do own a company, if you any of those kinds of things, this can make people as equally electric as that energy is. So you could literally, you know that meme where they're throwing the papers in the air and they're like, F this job. You could have an employee do that. Abso-freaking-lutely. If it is an unhealthy, boring, stagnant relationship with your employees, with your job, you're the employee, you could be busting free during a Uranian retrograde energy. So between now and January, if somebody throws the papers in the air, let them go. Let them go. Let you go. Move on, because even if it's scary, the innovation is just down the road. All right, Uranus retrograde in this 7th house. Relationships. And it's not always marriage, right? This could just be about your conscious, chosen, one-on-one relationships, whether you are together to do business, for romance, for friendships. The relationship of you with you is very big in the 7th house. So here, your relationships in some way, you've either had the desire for them to be different, maybe someone has floated into your life and you're like, oh my God, this is actually really good. You're kind of freaking out because it's not bad, right? Maybe you've got a separation on the table. Whatever it is in this relationship zone, it's gotten different in your material world or in your world here. Maybe even your ideas about relationships, your relationship of you with you has gotten different, right? How do you understand you? How do you move with you? What does this person do now? What do you feel called to do now? That could be changing. Now, during the Uranian retrograde, because it's a relationship house, you could have a relationship come back from the past. If you need to heal that in order to rebuild the friendship, make peace with the friendship, forgive that person so that you can forgive you so you can forgive them. If forgiveness, Uranus is a planet of forgiveness, and it's not a planet because it just gives forgiveness like Neptune. It is not like that. It's a planet that has to work on forgiveness, and it will punch you in your trust and forgiveness buttons so that you will make peace with that. So if there's some forgiveness, if there is a relationship that comes back from the past, please be brilliantly, beautifully conscious and slow with it, and allow that other person and you to have time to see how you can do these things. If this is a business relationship from the past, this too, for somebody out here, there's a relationship or a connection or something from the past that looks like this has something to do with maybe the law in some way, shape, or form. Maybe there was a social situation, maybe a home environment. It's one of those two, and it has to do with the law. This may be back on your plate to be able to deal with at this time. I do think that this Uranian retrograde as well could put you in contact with people who can help you take a vision forward, or maybe this brings the mentor to the table, and it's like a mentor you would never think to hang out with. You know, like the person who is like the ultimate jerk. Like, let's say you're in school and the teacher that's just kind of arrogant, that's your actual helper, right? Like that may be your new mentor. So don't be afraid of the erratic energy of Uranus, but just pay attention to it, okay? All right, Uranus in the 8th house. Now, this I will tell you, Uranus in the 8th house, I think is so lovely for relationships. I actually love this because when Uranus comes through the 8th house, maybe you've been trying to be in a relationship, maybe you've wanted something very serious in your life that has that intimate connection, and you just haven't been able to find it. And I think a lot of times people think that Uranus coming through the 7th house is going to be what brings that. Nah, that may be the setup for it. But Uranus in the 8th house, I find, brings enough of a different version of you out into the table that it can attract that person. It's like you become more authentic for some reason. I see this plenty of times when Uranus rolls through the 8th house. I can tell you in my particular situation, I was friends with my husband for 6 years before we ever even caught an attraction to each other. Yet all of the qualities we were both looking for in other human beings to have solid relationships were there. It was not until Uranus entered into Aries, which he is in Aries, and my 8th house over my Venus that we went, oh my God, it's you, right? So sometimes it's like this Uranian energy just pulls those blinders off and you go, oh, best thing ever, right? So that is definitely an energy that could be happening for you in this area as well. So if a relationship does come to the table in a retrograde, if the retrograde brings somebody back to the table, look cautiously at them. Again, move slowly. Let each other have time to build and show who you are, genuinely who you are. In the 8th house is not the time to pull the coward card. Show who you are. It's a very vulnerable place, right? But something good could definitely come from that. Now, the 8th house is also a money house as well, but this is money that you didn't necessarily earn. It's coming to you in some way, shape, or form. So whether this be Uranus retrograde in the 8th house or Uranus in the 8th house has brought something different from your spouse or a partner's finances, or maybe a collaboration or something like that you've been working on in the external way. Maybe there has been some kind of financial change or some kind of partnership, intimate. This could even be a sexual situation that has presented itself in your outside world. Now, during Uranus retrograde, you may have to relook over those collaborations, make sure they are the right ones for you, or innovate what's happening in them. I've recently started working on a new podcast, and we've had new ideas come to the table. During Uranus retrograde, we will probably perfect what those things look like. And it's not happening in my 8th house, but that's just an example of what could be happening for you. You may need to innovate and see where you need to get out of your own way, tear down some beliefs, tear down some structures that you've had. This is also, I think, a really great energy. It brings just enough chaos to the table that if you need to renegotiate or bargain something where someone or something is connected to your finances in some way, shape, or form, this could be that. For therapists, this could be a time with Uranus retrograde. If you are good at finding out and digging to the bottom and to the truth of things, if you are a criminal investigator, if you do anything, I think, in social work, anything that has to do with sex, sexual crime, sexual healing, sexual therapy, any of those kinds of things, past trauma, past dramas. First of all, some of yours, if that is part of your story, could be coming up for a look over. And remember, the idea is we need to innovate. We cannot stay here. This is not the place that we get to continue the soul's travel from, right? But this could be a time too during a Uranus retrograde where if you help and you heal and you teach about those things, you could not only see more people coming to you, or you're dealing with it more in depth. And of course, this is Uranus, which is global. Epstein, okay? We could see all kinds of victims coming out. We could see all kinds of information, perpetrators, things connected with that coming out at a global level. But you could see it at a personal level as well, because what happens is Uranus is very open-minded as well. And there's a willingness with Uranus, so people may be ready to heal. This is a very good omen for healing during this retrograde as well. So just kind of keep that in mind, okay? You could be going back to astrology as well. You could be teaching astrology, digging through astrology. I'm telling you, if you do anything with crime, this is also a really good time to investigate those things, especially on the astrological or esoteric levels. Okay, Uranus retrograde in this 9th house. Maybe what's happened for you is your faith has gotten different. Your belief structure has gotten different. Maybe you started to study astrology, came from a Christian, Mormon, Muslim background, and you have shifted gears and you're like, wait a minute, I think there's more. I want to include astrology, tarot, numerology, palm, Reiki, good old-fashioned massage, right? Any of those things could have changed your faith structure. And maybe you didn't change from an organized religion to astrology. Maybe in your astrological studies you have found that you need to have this in addition to your practice. Whatever it is, faith in some ways, you could have been expanded in some way, shape, or form. Perhaps in your external world, you started new training, new education, new something of adding information to you. You're gathering information and then you are required to share it back in some way, shape, or form. If this has to do with things that have international business, international travel, international connections, and sometimes I do include romance in here. If you've got a partner that you, let's say a deployed partner or somebody who lives someplace else, you could have things in your external world that are currently going. If you are one of my friends who is working on anything that has to do with immigration, you have seen some things pouring out in your life. And now, as Uranus is retrograde, you could be looking at the structure of how that's happening, how you fit in that globally, how it affects you in any one of these areas. And you will be looking at areas of innovation. And the innovation, I want to be clear, may not be straightforward. This is Uranus. It could be erratic. It could be sometimes like you're at that high point of the roller coaster right before you fall. Stay open-minded to what Uranus is bringing to the table. Now, I will tell you, anything from the past that's been back here could come forward, but now you'll have the information you need to put the pieces in place. You'll be out of your way. Systems, services, organizations, new ones will be available to you, or old ones will have different accommodations to help you get done whatever it is that you need to get done. And I do think at some level as well, this really will involve the law. And at a global level, because we're having to look at laws, if you have something globally, internationally connected to the law, I want you to pay a lot of attention to what's going on here and look for organizations, look for information that can help you innovate here, okay? All right, Uranus retrograde through the 10th house. This is the house of not only your career, right? Like your career is not the only thing that lives up here. Oop, pause. Okay, look, we got to go back to Uranus retrograde in this 9th house real quick. Different ethical or cultural backgrounds. This is coming back together. Someone from a different culture or a different background from yourself, you could be very attracted to them, or they could be coming into your world in some way if this is happening in your 9th house, and they are the ones actually bringing you the information on how to innovate here. Trust your intuition. Trust your intuition here in the 9th house, okay? All right. Uranus in that 10th house, not only the career, but your soul level calling lives up here. What are you built to give the world? What is your gift that you have to offer into the material world? What are you known for in your community? Maybe you're retired, but what are you known for? I think we can see a little bit of volunteering up here if this is your thing, right? But whatever is going to happen, Uranus has been creating a new environment for you in your work world, in your what I do in the world, who I am world. Now, this can also include in this 10th house who you are. Did you get married? Because you've changed who you are publicly. Did you get divorced? Are you separated? This is not always, the most comfortable thing, but has someone found out about the affair, found out about things that have been happening in a company and an organization? Whatever it is, things are in the light at this particular point, and they are different in the external environment. Has your business practices need to change, and that has somehow also become very abundantly your management skills have needed to get different, or have you been handed a new management task in some way, shape, or form? Either way, Uranus retrograde now is going to bring the way to innovate, but you've got to see what the problem is or what the challenge is, where you need to bring in a social aspect, where there needs to be more open-mindedness, where you need some unusual tactics that you maybe could never think of, or maybe your demographic is off in some way, shape, or form. The place that you're trying to work or to be helpful, maybe you need more information, more intuition. Maybe you've got to break down those barriers of ideas of how to help a different demographic in some way, shape, or form. Now, this is interesting, though. Because Uranus is retrograde in Taurus in that 10th house, this is also a great time for re-imaging yourself, right? Like, have you been looking one way for a really long time? This is actually a phenomenal energy because you have very good fashion sense at this time. Things are on sale out of nowhere, right? So it's a great time for you to redecorate yourself. Actually, with this energy, if you wanted to rebrand your business, this is a beautiful energy happening here as well that is very, very useful to you. Okay, Uranus retrograde in the 11th house. This is a natural place where Uranus rules in general, so pretty much very comfortable up there. But Uranus retrograde in the 11th house. Likely what's happened in your 11th house is one, you have begun to think about your future in a different way, right? Like it's brought some different ideas to you, what you want in the material world, in the physical world, as far as stability and far as future influence, right? Maybe your social groupings, organizations, things with friendships have gotten significantly different. If you've had this idea that's kind of been bubbling beneath the surface that maybe you want to volunteer, right? Maybe you want to volunteer and do stuff. Anything that has to do with technology, has to do with science, has to do with innovating and bringing something forward. The ideas have been there. The landscape is there, but maybe you haven't known how to navigate it quite yet. Now, with Uranus retrograde, first things first, I do think that Uranus retrograde in the 11th house makes you relook at your connections to groupings, right? Whether it's been you've been going to the same meditation group for 100 years, is it still feeding your soul? Are you showing up to give? Is there still growth happening here? Trust your intuition. Within friendships and connections, within other organization connections, are you still growing there? Now, I also think that Uranus retrograde in the 11th house brings chance encounters. It's like you went to a different grocery store for some reason, and you find your new connection. You find your new friend. There could be a new romance that walks in that begins as a very long friendship and you don't see it coming, right? This is a place and a time where Uranus is so connected to that intuitive vibration that you've got your head backwards thinking about how to innovate, that someone walks in. This could be a friend that you were friends with in the past and they come back to the table. Maybe, you know how like 100 years ago you graduated from high school, right? Or maybe it's not 100 years ago for you. Maybe it's like, there was that person you went to school with that you didn't really know, but whatever. They show up and have some information in your life on how to proceed something forward. Because maybe what happens is they're more open-minded. Maybe they're more social than you. Maybe they know how to connect things socially. Maybe they know how to use those social apps that can make your life and your world a little bit different, easier, right? Whatever it is, things could be coming back from the past to help you innovate these areas going forward. All right, Uranus in the 12th house. This is our last house, the house of transition, the house of closure. This is a house that walks in between the worlds, right? So it can also be a little bit vague when it happens here as well. But Uranus in the 12th house in general, things that need closure, things that need transition, things that need forgiveness and unconditional love, addictions, all of these have been kind of brought to the surface, our specialized population. I'm thinking elderly, our people with disabilities in some way, shape, or form, children maybe with disabilities in some way, shape, or form, things that have to do with the world of the mental or the physical somehow being different in this material plane. The needs of these people have been brought to the surface in some way, shape, or form, and whether that's you that has that need, whatever that looks like. This can also be a place of, I tend to think that this can be a place of, if you have lost a child, a family member, if you've lost someone related to a kidnapping, as something that we can't see and control in terms of something else that was going on. Maybe this is a mental illness. Maybe you lost someone connected to addiction in some way, shape, or form. Whatever it is, this could be an immense time of healing for you with Uranus being here, because it brings it to the surface and says, we have to move forward from here. But what can we also do to be helpful in these areas as well? Now, on a whole totally different track, things that have to do with creativity, things that have to do with photography, love of animals, love of whatever, where you have this creative voice, poetry, speaking about spiritual topics in some way, shape, or form, sharing that information or exploring spiritual topics in some way, shape, or form. Uranus is bringing this kind of erratic sense to the table. So as you're driving forward, you can see that all of these different areas, you're finding innovation, you're finding interest, you're finding ways to make the connection with different people where you're all supporting some level of transition to this area, right? Now, as Uranus goes retrograde here, one of the things, it's going to bring up issues from the past. It's going to bring up people, places, things, memories from the past that have happened here. And maybe if what's happening is you're celebrating a life that has maybe moved on, or you're grieving, either of which they serve for your closure and your transition, but it will be done in a way that is innovative, that is not about this space where what has moved on wishes for you to stay kept, right? Like, what has moved on also wishes for you to move on. If this happens to touch in on any of my actors and actresses, Uranus retrograde could bring you an opportunity for a role in some way, shape, or form. It could bring you work where you're just really connecting. Maybe you're even connecting to an erratic character from the past in some way, shape, or form. Anybody who's really creative, this could bring back ideas where you're flooded with information. This is highly intuitive. You could be bringing information from between the worlds, between the veil, and there's a beauty and you have a focus and you're able to share that information for us. Now, I don't know about you. Again, this is not a placement that's happening in my 12th house for me, but what today's energy just in general has felt like for me, and I can channel and I can hear and I can see in between the worlds often enough. And today what it sounds like is there's this interesting, it's like a radio tuner. There's static, and then there's information that kind of comes through and it's quiet and moves off, right? There's music, there's clips from songs, there are clips from Ram Dass came into my connectional space today. Oh my God, I think I told you guys like forever ago, Anthony Bourdain came through with all sorts of information and he's peeking in here. So it's like as the staticky electrical channels are becoming clearer, especially here in the 12th house, if you've got a connection to that, you may be hearing them with more clarity to bring forward. We're in a space where we're coming into a new era. We're coming into the age of Aquarius. What information do you have to bring us? My 11th house friends, what information do you have to bring us about things moving forward? Now, the other thing I think we have to pay attention to with Uranus being retrograde, and as we get to September, please start paying attention, pay attention all the time, but pay attention to, again, what's happening as we come into September, where Saturn comes out of retrograde as well, but we've got Uranus retrograde, because we've got this whole generation of people who are awakening. They're having their Saturn returns. They are awakening. And whether or not you love it, you think highly of these people, whatever it is that you think about them, as they come to their Saturn return, and we get ready to come into the great triple conjunction of Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto here in Capricorn, the awakeners are our people who are carrying us forward. So during this Uranus retrograde, we are getting the innovations in place. Our awakeners are being downloaded with information that is going to be, they are going to carry us through what we've got next, and we need those awakeners. So instead of being like, millennials are crazy, millennials, blah, 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 whatever you've got to say about it, start supporting those people, because they are our awakeners and they are getting ready to take us through this next era. And it's not going to be to kill us. It's going to be because they've got the information of the innovations that are available, and it is started already, right? Some of them are popping off like little gremlins. They're just waking up. Saturn returns, Saturn returns, Saturn return, and they are being downloaded during this Uranian retrograde. So just want to throw that out there for you guys to think about. We laugh at these millennials, and I'm like a barely millennial. I'm not a millennial. I am a teacher to the millennials, right? I get my place. I am not a millennial. I'm a soul teacher, right? But we laugh at these millennials, and they are going to take us forward, my friends. Okay. So that is all 12 houses, all of the good stuff that's happening on August 11th and how it's happening as we move forward. If you do not have a chart, please get a chart. That is the only way to really know what's happening for you. If you don't have a chart, you're not actually doing astrology. That's the deal, right? Because it's a very specific kind of craft. If you don't have a chart, you can come get one from me. You can get a free one online, astro.com, Cafe Astrology. There's many places you can get a free chart. And to find out, and please, check this. If you have got If you've got things happening in your natal chart, check your progressed chart as well, because the idea is that we are progressing, right? So see where these influences are hitting in your progressed chart as well. And if you don't have your progressed wheel, you can also get that from me as well. So that's going to be very important, so you can see where your stamps, your energy stamps are at for you. Now, the other thing I will tell you is that if you are not sure how to find out where these things are transiting, how to find that on your chart, I've got a video. I will put it in the description box down below so that you can see how to find where these things are happening in your chart. And if it's like, Stormie, I really want to know what's happening, but I'm not trying to be involved in all this find it on your chart business, please come see one of the professional astrologers that are out here. You've got a beautiful community. Come sit down, have a reading with me. Go see Barbara Goldsmith. Go see Terrence. Go see Nico. Go see Michelle. Go see Nadja, right? There are tons of people out here and available to help you understand this, because what we want to do with the gifts that we've been given of astrology is give it to you. We are here to help humanity with this particular skill. We want you to use your energies the best you can, and to not to predict your future, right? Astrologers who tell you they can predict their future, you better run. You better run, because they take the place of something bigger that knows the divine plan. We do not. We just follow the map, right? So go get help. If you need help, if you want clarity, if you're feeling a calling to study this, come study with any one of us as well. You've got a beautiful community that you are absolutely surrounded in, and we're all talking about the things that are taking our generation and humanity forward from a more spiritual perspective and a practical way as well. So, all right, you guys, I love you a ton. It's a brilliant Sunday. I'm going to jump in here and get back to my family, but I hope that this gives you a little bit of explanation of not only what's been going on, how it's been going on in the world, how to use those energies, and maybe some things to look out for going forward. So I will see you guys for in just a couple days for the full moon and Aquarius video. We're going to talk about that, so look for that to pop up on the channel here very soon. All right, you guys, like this video, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. I love all of you. Bye.